Hello, welcome to this NMC OSCE tutoring video. My name is Hannah. I'm a UK registered nurse, university lecturer, and I've been an NMC OSCE programme lead, and I provide one-to-one OSCE preparation and academic nursing support. So last week you might have heard that the NMC have introduced 2 new clinical skills stations to the adult OSCE. So in this video I'm going to talk you through one of those skills, so pre-operative checklist. So I'm going to talk through all the components of this, what we need to do, how we're going to ask those questions. The NMC haven't released the timings yet for this station, but I would imagine it might be around an 8-minute or 6 to 8 minute station. So the NMC haven't released the timings for this yet, but I wanted to get a video done so we can start preparing and learning the requirements for this station. I think the timing would be somewhere around 6 to 8 minutes for this type of station. That's most probably what I'd work towards until they've released those official timings. So like I said, we're waiting for NMC timing confirmation, but I imagine this would be between a 6 and 8 minute station. There's not any kind of practical equipment and things like that, so more just a verbal assessment type station. So I think it would sit around that time frame. We need to complete the full pre-operative checks, document them correctly, and we need to escalate any concerns. And I don't know, we might have a patient actor for this station. We might have a mannequin, but we'll wait and see. But I imagine it would be a good station to have a patient actor in. Okay, so for this station, you're going to have a scenario. You will also have some form of documentation to write down all your assessment. Now, the NMC have still not released that yet, but I wouldn't stress about that. I'm sure it'll be quite straightforward with all the requirements of the pre-operative checklist. So hopefully you won't need to remember a huge amount because it should be prompted through that checklist, but we need to be able to ask the right questions and recognise anything that's going to be a concern. So I've just got my patient here, Bright, who's got a total knee replacement today, and we've been asked to complete the pre-operative checklist and all the required documentation. So along with your pre-operative checklist, you should have a BMI chart as well, I would imagine, because that's part of one of the checks that we need to do on the marking criteria. So how would I break this station down? So again, key principles, explain the procedure, gain consent. We're going to complete and verbalise all the pre-operative checks, which I'm going to take you through one by one in this recording. We need to make sure that our documentation is signed and dated, and we need to end the station professionally. During that kind of step 2, where we are doing all the pre-operative checks, if we recognise anything that's a concern, or we need to escalate to the surgical team or the anaesthetist, we want to be doing that in the station to demonstrate safety. So once we've done the introduction and consent, so again, hand hygiene, using the 7 steps, going to introduce ourselves to the patient, going to explain what we come to do. So hello, Bright, my name is Hannah. I'm the nurse on the pre-operative ward today, and I've come to do your pre-operative checks. So I understand you're going for a total knee replacement, and we're going to ask you a series of questions so we can make sure that you are safe and prepared for theatre. Do you consent for me to do this? Okay, then we're going to do our identity check. Okay, so very similar to the approach into lots of our stations. So we're going to ask the patient to confirm their full name and date of birth. We need to check that against the patient's wristband, against the pre-op checklist, and against the consent form. So hopefully we should have a consent form as well, or we'd want to verbalise that we check that against the consent form. So name, date of birth, and then hospital number. And I like to give you the rationale for each steps really with this because it's important. And this is, as you will know, will prevent the wrong patient going to the wrong procedure and reduce kind of that risk of error. After our ID check, we're going to do our allergy check. So again, similar approach to what we do in our medication clinical skills stations. So we need to ask the patient directly about any allergies, any medications, latex and iodine is quite important maybe for theatre, any foods. We need to confirm that allergy status against a red ID band and the documentation that we have. If there's any discrepancies or nothing is documented correctly, we want to escalate that and verbalise that we get that documented correctly. And allergy check, as you know, is so important to prevent any anaphylaxis and any adverse drug reactions. We're then going to go on to question 3, which will be assessing the patient's dentition. So looking in the mouth and asking them if they've got any loose teeth, crowns or caps, if they've got any dentures or bridges. And we really would want to ask the patient if they have got any of these. Okay, so Bright, can you tell me if you've got any loose teeth, crowns, caps, or dentures or bridges in your mouth? We'd want them to open their mouth, just have a little inspection in there and see if there was anything that looked displaced or loose. We would document our findings, we would remove any dentures, and if we had anything like loose teeth or anything that we thought was potentially going to be a cause of concern, we'd want to escalate this to the anaesthetist. And this prevents kind of any dental injuries during intubation. It helps with airway management, so reduce the risk of aspiration of foreign items or your kind of loose teeth during the anaesthetic. Okay, 4, we're going to look at jewellery. So we need to ask the patient if they've got any piercings anywhere, okay? So we want to make sure all jewellery is removed, rings, earrings, any body piercings at all. If we can't remove that jewellery, we need to tape it. So we might have some surgical tape, we might need to tape a ring potentially if it's tight and we can't get that off. And we'd need to document if we can't remove any jewellery, where it is, and also escalate that to the surgical and anaesthetic team. This is because of removing jewellery reduces the risk of burns through diathermy, also can be an infection issue. You can also get pressure injuries if the patient's lying on that piercing during an operation. 5, we're going to look at fasting status. Okay, so we need to confirm with the patient the last intake of food and fluids. So again, just asking the patient, so I'd say, Bright, can you confirm to me the last time you had anything to eat and drink? We want to check that they've followed fasting guidelines. So NICE guidelines is kind of 2 hours really for any clear fluids, 6 hours for food. Sometimes it depends on anaesthetist and the surgical procedure, but those are kind of general guidance to be going by. We want to explain to the patients the importance of staying nil by mouth prior to theatre, so to reduce the risk of aspiration. So that's when your gastric contents go into your lungs during anaesthesia. And obviously, if they haven't been nil by mouth, we'd want to escalate that to the anaesthetist as well. So 6, very important part of the procedure is consent. Okay, consent form. And you want to check the consent form. So we want to check all the patient's details are correct on the consent form. So verbalising that really clearly. We want to check that the consent form has the correct procedure and site. So example, if my patient's having a right knee replacement, I want to make sure it is right and it is, so it's knee replacement. And this consent form should be signed by the patient and the surgeon. Obviously, any incomplete or inaccurate consent forms need escalating immediately. That is very important. Consent is a legal requirement. And if the consent isn't completed, it obviously will delay surgery. As well as checking the consent is correct, we need to check the patient understands the procedure and understands what's on the consent form. So we'd want to ask the patient just to give us an overview of what they understand about the operation. So I might say, Bright, can you just tell me why you've come in today, what you are expecting to have happen? Do you understand the risks? And so we want them to be able to explain that, okay? And we'd want to escalate any concerns to the surgical team if the patient was unclear. Okay, so consent is really important. I've just laid this out as it's just listed down on the NMC marking criteria, but consent might be something you might want to do right at the very beginning after your ID checks. Logically, for me, that sits right up there, and then I'd go through the rest of the paperwork. But it doesn't really matter as long as you get that consent done. So remember, we're checking the consent form, but we're also checking patient understanding. So 2 components to consent. We then need to check with makeup and nail varnish. So we need to make sure the patient has removed all makeup, nail varnish and any false nails. And this really, because makeup and nail varnish can mask any signs of cyanosis. It obviously nail varnish, fake nails will interfere with oxygen saturations and circulatory assessments. So it's an important part of patient safety to make sure that is removed and to ask the patient to remove it if they haven't done so already. 9 is working out your patient's body mass index. Okay, so for this, you'll need to ask your patient for their height and their weight. And I would imagine the NMC will provide you with a BMI chart. So this is similar to the one that we see in the must station. So we'll take the height and the weight and we'll work out the BMI and we'll need to document that down. And working out a BMI is important because it identifies any surgical risks. For example, patients who are obese or underweight. It's important for medication calculations as well sometimes. So that's why we need to work out the BMI. 10, we're going to ask for any prosthesis. So this is anything, any implants, any artificial limbs, hearing aids, pacemakers as well. That's really important. Indwelling devices. So we just need to ask the patient to identify those. We might want to, well, we will need them to remove things that are removable. So hearing aids, glasses, artificial limbs, just obviously make sure that they're clearly labelled, documented and stored with the patient so they don't get lost or damaged. Oh, implants. Yeah, I thought pacemakers should be on there somewhere. So implants, so these are things that patients have got within them. So these would be your pacemakers, cochlear implants for hearing, any kind of metal work as well. And again, we want to document those, but we should also notify the theatre team so they're aware that they are in place. And this is because they can kind of affect surgery, equipment, anaesthetic management. Patients need to go for scans or MRIs or things like that, pre and post procedure. So we want to make sure those are clearly documented. 12 is our theatre gown. So we just want to make sure our patient is dressed in a clean theatre gown. So if they haven't got one, we would verbalise getting them one, make sure it's tied up correctly to ensure their privacy and dignity. And obviously theatre gowns, it reduces infection control risk from patients bringing their own clothes into theatre and obviously allows easy access to surgical sites. We want to just check any other relevant information. So this would be just asking a series of questions to our patient actual mannequin. So if we've got a female patient, we want to confirm pregnancy status and last period, whether they've had any recent infections, confirm their temperature is normal. If there's any mobility issues, which might impact them kind of pre and post-op as well. Any communication needs, this is really important for our surgical patients, especially when they're coming around in recovery. So just confirming there's any communication needs that we need to be aware of, if there's any safeguarding concerns as well. And this just really makes sure that we've got all the information and we're providing holistic perioperative care. Okay, once we've done our checklist, and most probably as we're going through that checklist, we will be completing and signing it as we go. That will be most probably the most efficient for time management, but also so you don't forget and you're not having to go back. So I'd be completing it and documenting it as we go. There will be somewhere for you to print your name, sign your name and put the date and time. So make sure this is done. It is a key part of the marking criteria. And as you know, the NMC is very strict on documentation because it's our accountability and legal evidence of care that's been provided. Okay, so that's the overview of this station. Obviously going to keep a real close eye on the NMC website for the timings to be released, for the supporting documents to be released as well. I would start to learn this though, quite a lot to learn. Remember, we should have some prompts on the documentation, hopefully, but start to think about what questions you're going to ask your patient in order to assess these, start to identify any concerns that may need escalating. I hope you found this video helpful. Please like, subscribe and share my channel. Try to keep it up to date with all the latest information to support you with your NMC OSCE preparation for free.